YouTube? It's your boy Jerome, and I'm here tonight with a review for The Real Housewives of Atlanta. This is season number 11, episode number 3, and it's titled A New Edition. So without further ado, we are going to start with the video. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of the little stuff out of the way. So we're going to start with Eva. And we see Eva, she is meeting up with Portia, and Portia is working out with her trainer, DP. His name is DP. I actually follow him on Instagram. Does a lot of good stuff. I wish I was in Atlanta to work out with him because he looks like a dope trainer. And, what else was I about to say? Oh, I also think that because I know that he has a boot on his leg right now. I think either he has a boot on his leg or he just got the boot taken off. I believe he was in that car accident that Scrappy had earlier this year. So, like I said, Eva and Portia, they're working out. Now, I'm not quite sure why Eva feels the need to shade Cynthia as much as she does. Because she keeps talking about, how Cynthia's 30, she's 33 and Cynthia is 51. What does that mean, Eva? I get it, you're younger than Cynthia is, but Cynthia has done a lot in her modeling career, so I don't know why Eva feels the need to shade Cynthia so much, because she was also talking about, her veteran walk, and I'm like, you can learn a lot from that veteran's walk. If I'm not mistaken, you came from America's Next Top Model, Cycle 3, where Tyra Banks, was basically your mentor. So when you shading Cynthia, you are almost in a sense shading Tyra, because you learned from a veteran who was modeling, and you wouldn't be the model that you are if it was not for Tyra Banks. So I don't know why Eva feels the need to, continuously shade Cynthia, because Cynthia's an older woman. Cynthia, that doesn't mean shit, to be quite honest with you. What does that mean? I'm still confused as why Eva, we all know that last season that Eva and Cynthia didn't get off to the best start with the whole Will situation, but I still don't get why Eva feels the need to shade her. Now, she did shade Marlo as well, but I understood exactly why she shaded Marlo when they were talking about the whole Miami trip, with Marlo talking about the rooms and how, she felt like certain people should have gotten a better room. I absolutely agree with Eva 100%. I don't know why Marlo felt that she deserved a bigger room, because for number one, like I said last week, she's not a main peach holder, so take the closet and be happy. And, Portia, she's talking to not Marlo, but Eva about Dennis. And, Eva saying that she knew within 4 months that Michael was the one for her. And, she's telling Portia, take it slow, do whatever you got to do what is best for you when it comes to you and Dennis's relationship. And I actually did like that she said that to Portia, instead of Portia just feeling like, just because she's filming this show, that she automatically has to bring Dennis around these group of girls, which we all know those group of girls can be very judgmental, and we are already seeing that with none other than Kandi. So, I did like that advice that Eva gave to Portia. I really did. Alright, so I am going to move over to the person who I know for a fact is going to work my nerves just a little bit this season, and that is none other than Shamar DeVoe. I knew Shamar was going to probably be a little extra just by looking at her and when they released the trailer. I knew she was going to be extra. I'm really surprised, though, that, with Shamar, they didn't even test her last season. They just automatically gave her a peach. So I'm assuming Shamar's going to bring some shit later on in the season. But like I said, this introduction episode, she was over the top. She's talking about she is married to the legendary Ronald DeVoe Jr. I'm like, oh my God. I felt like she watched an episode of Ben Bobby Brown, because she gave me Whitney tease just a whole lot. It just felt like the way she was hyping up Ronnie, it just made me think of Ben Bobby Brown, with Whitney and Bobby. I'm like, minus the drugs, but she just gave me Whitney and Bobby vibes, and I'm just like, oh my God, she is team too motherfucking much. She's talking about how Ronnie is 13 years her senior. They've been together for 17 years. They had her twin boys who are 11 months old. What else did she say? She had sex with him on the first night. Didn't really give a shit about that. She's talking about how she wasn't born in Atlanta, but she went to schools in Atlanta. So for her, basically, she is a Georgia peach. And, she's talking about how she and Ronnie have a group together that they are working on. And then we see them two leaving to go to the studio. Now, Shamari got in the studio, sang, did her little thing. I actually like hearing Shamari sing. But then Ronnie got his ass in the booth. I'm like, what the fuck was that Ronnie did? I'm like, Ronnie, please go back to your group and stay in background vocals because it just wasn't it for me. And Shamar is telling us about her group Black. They were discovered in 1996 by Lisa Left Eye Lopez. Rest in peace to Lisa. They had their song Boom Like an 808, and they have Bring It On to Me, which I think did it have Escape in there? I mean, not Escape, but In Sync it was in that song. So, she's talking about how the group is getting back together. I'm like, how is Black getting back together when Natina passed away a few years ago in a car accident? So I guess they're gonna be like TLC, how T-Boz and Chili do their stuff without Left Eye. So I'm guessing it's gonna be the Shamari. And I think if I'm not mistaken, Natina's sister was in Black. The other girl is Natina's sister, if I'm not mistaken. But I can already, like I said, I can tell right now that Shamari is gonna be team too fucking much this season. But I'm kind of interested to see, because looking at this episode and looking at the trailer, I think that she and Nene are gonna clash with each other. So I'm actually interested to see how that plays out later in the season. All right, so next we have Nene, and she and Greg are out there in Houston, and they're trying to see what kind of prevent, what they can do to battle this cancer. And I have family members who've had cancer, and I know someone. Well, my maternal aunt and uncle, their mother has cancer, and she goes down to Houston quite often to get her treatment. So Houston is good when it comes to the cancer stuff. So they get there, and the nurse is talking to Greg, and telling him how she needs him to drink that big thing of tea. He didn't want to do that. She was talking about the IV, and he was like, for what? And you can clearly see that Greg was getting a little antsy, and I really felt bad for Greg because like I said, I have family members who had cancer. They didn't, the cancer eventually got the best of them, but I watched my grandmother go through it, and that was the worst thing in my life, to just sit there and see my grandmother deal with cancer and not be able to help her at all. So I absolutely 100% know how Nene feels. I know where she's coming from, because it's just something that cancer does not only affect the person that has it, it affects the family as well. It affects everybody in the family. So like I said, they're doing everything, and they're doing a CT scan to see if the cancer is gone or if there are any more cancer cells inside of Greg. So then they sit down with the doctor, and the doctor tells them that he didn't see anything cancer related in his body, but that doesn't necessarily 100% mean anything, because there could be little microscopic cancer cells that they just don't see. And he's telling he's like, I'm here to tell you what the best option is. So then he tells Nene and Greg that the best option that he thinks for them is going to be to do chemo. But Greg doesn't want to do chemo, and I understand why Greg doesn't want to do chemo, because I saw the effects that chemo does to a person's body. Like, oh God, it just makes it makes a person sick. They can't eat anything, and then it kills the insides. It kills them completely. Because I had an uncle who had cancer, got the cancer, but he had to do chemotherapy, and his his appearance completely changed. He got as small as Greg. Well, actually got smaller than Greg is now. And his skin, it just started to change dramatically. He went from being kind of brown skin to really dark. The cancer, I mean, not the cancer, but the chemo was just too much for him. So my heart goes out to Greg. I don't know what it feels like to go through cancer, but I do know the other side of it. Having to watch a loved one battle that. So, and then Greg asked the question, is there any alternatives to doing chemotherapy? And the doctor tells him, there are alternatives out there that you can do, but they are not as, with the testing, they're not as, we haven't saw that they're as effective as the chemotherapy is. So, that's just going to be something that Greg and Nene have to think about, what is best for both he and she as a couple and as a family. And like I said, my prayers go out to Greg and Nene both. I hope Greg, recovers and, doesn't have to deal with this ever again in his life. All right, so then we have Cynthia. Cynthia goes over to Greg and Nene's, and she's basically checking to see how Greg is. And when she gets here, she sees this big plant there, and Nene tells her, Tony Braxton called us and told us about it. So they'll do at this point, they're gonna do anything that they can to, get this, taken care of. And like I said, I hope everything's getting better for both he and Nene, because cancer is a bitch. Fuck cancer, and like I said, just hope it works out for them. And he's sitting there telling them how he wants to be a voice for other people and help other people, and I absolutely love that. And I agree with Cynthia. That's Greg's body. Whatever choice he makes for himself, it's his body. We just have to, respect that decision, and you just be able to say, what, I know that's what you want to do. I love you, and I'm here for you, whatever you need. So I love the fact that Cynthia is there for both Nene and Greg. Actually, I love the fact that all the women, despite all their bullshit, they are able to come together for those two. All right, so then we had this ATL Live event that Shamara was doing with her other group member. So we see all the girls there, and I remember seeing this photo, on the social media when they first started filming Real Housewives of Atlanta, and people were trying to guesstimate who the other peach holder was besides Eva. When people kept saying it was Marlo, I knew full well Marlo did not have the peach. But now we see why we never saw Shamari, because Shamari was performing. So, Shamari, she gets on stage and she performs Bring It On To Me. And, we see the other girls are out there in the crowd, and, Cynthia's telling me that she's having a Bailey Q. And I'm like, what the fuck is a Bailey Q? Just say a barbecue, Cynthia. That's just that easy. So, she's telling all the girls to bring their own, signature dishes they make. And Portia says, well, I'm not really too much cooking right now. And they're like, well, why are you not cooking? And she's like, because her man cooks for her. Whatever. If you like it, I love it. And then Kandi in her confessional, she is shading Portia, talking about his, I thought he had a hot dog stand and all this. And I'm like, Kandi, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? If the man is cooking for her, let the man cook for the girl. Like, why are you so concerned about it? Like, Kandi comes off pressed right about now, and I don't know why. Like, if you and her are just kind of getting back on speaking terms, why are you so fixated on what's going on between her and Dennis? I'm confused by it. So then Cynthia asked Portia who she's bringing with her, and Eva shades Shamia, and yeah, so she was shading and I mean, I get why Eva shading Shamia because of what Shamia did last season when she asked her about, how did Michael feel about her sleeping with Missy Elliott. So, I definitely get why Eva's shading the shit out of Shamia. I don't care. I really don't care too much about that. So, like I said, Shamari performed. Once Shamari finished performing, she goes down there where she goes down there where the other women are, and she speaks to all of them. Now, Nene spoke to her, gave her a hug, but in her interview, she shaded the hell out of Shamari. And one thing I will point out, I did agree with what Cynthia said. The outfit that Shamari them had on, I'm like, what in the disco ball shit do y'all have on? It was dated, and I agree with Cynthia. That shit did look dated as hell. So, when Shamari is sitting there talking to the girls, Ronnie comes over. And then Shamari asks Ronnie, does he have any advice for Kandi? And he says, placement. And Kandi's like, and I'm just like, Ronnie. First, actually, I'm not gonna say too much about Ronnie. I'm gonna say a lot about Shamari. Why did you feel the need to ask Ronnie if he has any advice for Kandi when Kandi was not performing? I know that Kandi was talking about how she just, finished performing with her group, but you were the one that was just on stage. If anybody should have asked for some advice on grouping, it should have been you and not you asking for Kandi. Like, I didn't quite understand where that came from. Like, it made zero sense to me. Like, what? Like, okay, I guess if you say so. Like, that was the dumbest shit I've ever saw. Like, why would you ask your husband for advice for Kandi when you were the one that was just on stage? Makes zero sense. You should have been like, hey, baby, what did you think about me on stage? Tell me how you felt instead of saying, hey, baby, what kind of advice do you have for Kandi? All right, so next I'm gonna talk about Portia, and I'm trying to figure out how I want to talk about this because the way that they played it on the show, it was a split between Portia and Kandi. So I guess I'm gonna kind of do it. I guess I'm gonna do it just like that. So when it comes down to Portia, we see Portia. She's at her house, and her mom comes over. Now I will say that Portia, I'm looking at her stomach. I'm like, Portia, like she was pregnant in this scene right here. So she's talking to her mom about Dennis. How Dennis has her name tattooed on him, and then how he has her face tattooed on him as well, and how he bought her the Rolex watch, and she shows her mom everything. Now, on the other side, we had Kandi. She was at OLG, and she was talking to Carmen, as Mama Joyce calls him, and she was telling Carmen, about how they went to Miami and how Portia invited her, and how they basically all went there to cheer up Nene. And then she's telling her about her new dude, who they know through other people. So while they're sitting there talking, in walks Portia's old assistant or friend, Jamie, the one that she was chasing at the end of season 8, the one that Kenya brought up at the reunion, and then they showed it when Portia chased her down in the alley and fought her. And I just tweeted this. I understand why now Portia fought Jamie, because she's messy as fuck. Because, I mean, if Portia was your friend or whatever, why are you sitting here gossiping with another person about her? Like, I can't stand people who do that shit. Like, it just irks my nerves. Like, it really bothers me. Like the old saying goes, if they are gossiping with you, you can be guaranteed that they are gossiping about you. And Jamie has proven that point 100%, because I'm pretty sure there have been some times that she and Portia talked about other stuff, and now look at her doing it, with Kandi. So with Kandi, they are talking about Dennis, how they know other girls that Dennis has bought watches for as well. They could also talk about how they know other girls that he has tattooed on him, name and faces as well. And I'm sitting there thinking of Kandi, like, didn't Todd tell you to stay out of this? But here you are, fully engulfing yourself in it, and you looking messy as hell. And then they're talking about how Portia said he cooks for her, and then James was like, oh, he does that for every girl. He has one girl cooking for the other girl and tell her to check the receipts. And I'm just like, why are y'all sitting here doing this? Like, this looks ridiculous and stupid as fuck. Like, if y'all not fucking him, why the hell are y'all concerned? Let Portia be concerned about what he's doing. And if she's not concerned about it, then shut the fuck up. Like, I don't understand that. Like, this is petty, immature bullshit. And Kandi is looking every bit of like her mama do. Like, you don't want nobody talking about your mama. You don't want nobody talking about your man. Like, you don't want nobody talking about nothing in your life. But here you are doing it to Portia. Like, Portia has never really aside from the stuff that Phaedra told Portia, Portia has never really said anything bad about Todd. Like, I don't get this shit. Like, so far with this season already, Kandi is annoying the shit out of me. I'm just gonna be honest with you. She's annoying the fuck out of me. All right, so now we are going to talk about Kandi. And I want to preface it, I want to say something else about the whole Portia and Kandi thing, and I'm going to be done with it. Kandi is acting like people don't have a fucking past. Like, of course this man is going to date other women before Portia. Like, he's human. Like, you dated other men before you got with Todd. And I want to say one more thing about this. So when it came down to Todd in season 7, when they had that pillow talk thing, and that one girl, Natalie, kept saying that Todd, was on a come up. Kandi, you got so heated about that when she said he was on a come up, and everybody kept calling him an opportunist. Like, it's the pot calling the kettle black. But so with Kandi, she introduced us to Shamari. She let us know that she wrote the remix to Boom Like an 808, and Shamar was talking about how the group is getting back together, and they were talking about the babies. Kandi follows the babies on Instagram, but this is her friend, and she don't even follow her friend on Instagram. I'm like, damn, that's low as fuck. You gotta feel really crazy if your friend is following your babies, but she ain't following you. So then we had this scene where Kandi FaceTimes Eva, and she FaceTimes Eva to invite Eva to the ATL live event that Shamari had, and Eva says she'll come. So then we see Kandi, she is trying to FaceTime Portia. The first time she FaceTimed Portia, the call disconnected. Then the second time she called her, somebody else answered the phone. And then she finally gets Portia on the phone, and she invites her, and then she's asking Portia what's going on with her. And, you know, she's like, where are you at? And she's like, she's with her new dude. And I'm just like, oh my God, Kandi, like you are gonna take this route this season. Like you gonna take the messy bitch route this season. Hate to call you, I'm not calling you a bitch, but I'm just saying you're gonna take the messy bitch route this season. Ugh. And then, you know, Portia's talking about how she's gonna eventually introduce Dennis to the group. I'm like, you might want to hold off on that one. Hold off on that as long as you can, Portia. But that was Real Housewives of Atlanta. Like the video, leave your comments, subscribe to the channel, and I shall see you guys later tomorrow for the part 2 of Love and Hip Hop Hollywood, the reunion.